I'm going to talk about how to generate error messages for empty fields on a form in Excel. So I have a very basic change of employment. So we have, of course, we have the first name, last name, and then we have what type of change it is. And so you have a drop-down list here, new hire, promotions, and termination. Okay, so let's go to select new hire. And now let's go look at the code I've written here. So I'm going to right click on the sheet tab and I'm going to go to view code. And so there you have my macro that I've written. I say IsEmpty. So the first one is if C3, which is the first name field, if C3 is empty, then the message box will say enter given name. And now if it's empty, then I want it to go almost to the end. So I go to ende, which I've labeled down here, which is just before the end sub. Okay, so if that one's not empty, then you go to the next one and say, is enter, or just say, is E3 empty? And there you have, that's our field for E3. So the IsEmpty is what the command I'm using. It works very well. And once again, you have a message box saying enter surname and then go to ende. And then we have the two end ifs for those ones. And then, so if they select in here termination, then the comments are mandatory. You need to have a reason why you've let these people go. And so enter comments are required in termination selected, and then end if, and then ende. Okay, so let us go. So we have absolutely nothing in here. And so let's go run this. So I'm going to press. Now, normally you would use this in a situation where you're having a button to save the file or possibly to email it. But I have videos on both of those, so I'm not going to go into how that procedure works. So what we're going to do is we're going to go F8 here to go through this. And then it goes, it's checking to see if C3 is empty, which is the first name field. And it says enter given name. So we say OK. So now let's reset that so that one works. So let's put in Barney. And then I'm going to fill in the second field because we can kind of guess that that's going to work. Okay, so let's go back to our code here, and let's go reset this, and we're going to go at F8. So we go F8, and so it goes all the way through because everything's filled out, and a new hire was selected, and so now we go to the end of the sub, and so the sub works fine. Now let's go back to here and let's go back to the other one. Now the comments field, how I did this is I merged and centered this cell here, but the cell is all named C9, and I'm using the IsEmpty. Now let's select termination here, and let's see if the error message works for the termination. So let's go back to my code. And so let's go the F8 through here. So everything works from checking all the names. And now it says if termination is selected, then you have to do another check. If C9, which is our merge and center field, is empty, then you do a message box. Comments are required if termination is selected, and you say OK. So that's a very simple method of having error messages displayed on empty fields. Please subscribe.